love, you're listening to the Died on Ashanta podcast. I'm a resilience strategist and migrant integration specialist who has spent the last 20 years traveling, working, and studying throughout the Caribbean, North America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. As a globetrotter, I quickly learned how to bounce back from crisis and how to thrive in new and strange places. I've used my training and experience to develop a resilience-based framework, and now I help others to get over the hurdles that come with living in a foreign country. Now on this podcast, I invite you to join me on this journey of living with simplicity, joy, and resiliency. From green smoothies to goal setting, we'll cover it all. We'll talk about all the things that help us to thrive through the storm. Welcome to the Died on Ashanta podcast. This is episode 31, and today we're talking about how you need to connect in community. Now, when you think about community, do you think about it in terms of your spiritual well-being? Well, that's the position from which we want to approach a conversation today. Community means a lot, and it's really important that as we think about how we replenish or cultivate our personal resilience, we look at how certain habits are impacting our spiritual resilience. Now, community is really essential for spiritual well-being, and this is mainly because it gives you something that all of us need, whether you take it from the psychological perspective, the physical, the spiritual, the mental, any aspect of your existence as a human being that you want to improve. That sense of belonging and the need for other people playing a key role in our lives, in our day-to-day lives, is going to be valid. Now, quite a few years ago, probably more than a decade ago, I came across a book called The Blue Zones. Before I saw the book, I saw I think it was a National Geographic documentary by Dan Buettner. And so whether you want to have a look at the film, you want to look at the TED Talk, you want to read the many articles and the various books that have come out of this study, I highly recommend it. Now, basically, the Blue Zones was about identifying 5 locations across the globe where the populations had a high number of people who lived to see 100 years of age or older. And they tried to identify what were the common, practices or principles adhered to by people who lived in these locations that they called blue zones. So these are people who have found the secret to long life. And one of those key things was community. And when you think of community, I want you to think of these 5 purposes that I want to suggest community provides for you, and in so doing builds and restores your spiritual resilience. Now, one of the first things community does for you is that it allows you to connect in a deep, strong, and long-lasting way with other people. And when you don't belong to a community, then you feel that social isolation that a lot of people don't realize is a major killer, a killer of the mind, body, and the spirit, whether you're talking about mental health crises or depression or just people dying alone because they are in a hospital and no one comes to visit. Social isolation can definitely kill you. And so the ability to find people who you share common values with, common interests with, to make connections with them is what you get from community. Community allows you to also collaborate. Sometimes you're working on something and you feel like you want to give up. You don't have the energy, you don't have the drive. But being able to connect with other people who have the same goals, the same interests, and sometimes to put your strengths together to work towards the same goals on the same projects can bring like amazing results. The third thing that community facilitates is celebration. Now, who wants to have to observe their birthday on their own? It makes a big difference when there are people who appreciate you, who can gather around you and celebrate the fact that you were born and that you're still here sharing life with them. It might not be a birthday, but it could be that you got a great grade on a particular exam, or you got a promotion, or a project that you've been working on for a very long time has finally been completed. Whatever it is, small or major milestone that you attain or achieve in your life, having people around you to celebrate with you or you with them is really central to being a part of a community. Fourth thing that community allows you to enjoy is comfort. And this is for when times get rough, which they will. When you are faced with adversity, crisis, disappointment, and you have people who you can lean on their shoulders, people who you can vent to, because sometimes, they're not going to solve the problem for you, but just to have someone to listen to you, getting that comfort or being able to comfort someone else who is in distress is really, really precious. And it is the perfect medicine, the perfect salve for a wounded soul. The fifth and final benefit that I will suggest that you gain from connecting with others in community is covering. And this is where you have people who protect you, people who watch out for your back, people who care for you. That you cannot get by being an island all to yourself. You don't know everything, you can't do everything, you haven't experienced everything, and just having people around you who have sometimes lived experience that they can use to guide you, people who can come to your aid, to your defense, who can protect you from hazards that you don't see ahead of the road. This kind of protection is just invaluable, and you get this within community. There's a proverb from Angola which says, "Crying is useless if you have no friends who will listen." Crying is useless if you have no friends who will listen. And that really rings true as a kind of championing statement for us to seek to always connect in community, because we will have different stages and phases in our life, different hurdles and hassles that we need to get through. And if we don't have anyone taking this journey with us, then it can really increase your stress levels, deplete your mental well-being, and just drain that inner strength that you have, that spiritual resilience that you have to carry on and to see things through to success. Now, you're probably wondering, clearly this is something that's essential, being able to gain that sense of belonging and connect in a community. But what kinds of communities are there, and how do you go about getting it? Well, the first thing I would tell you to do is to focus on building strong relationships. It doesn't mean you need 1,000 friends. If you can find 2 or 3 people who can stick by you for the long run through thick or thin, that's better than having 2,000 or 200,000 people who know your name and occasionally tap you on the back for something smart or cool or funny that you've done. And one of the easiest and most common, even amongst the Blue Zone communities, one of the most common ways that people connect in community is through faith-based communities, irrespective of your religious beliefs or the lack thereof. There are ways that human beings gather to share in spiritual practices, spiritual disciplines, and you will benefit highly from finding a group that you can share interests, principles, values with, and regularly connecting with them. Another way, of course, which we can't ever leave out, is family. And this is not talking about simply having blood relations with people that you hardly ever see or you only connect via distance communication methods. This is talking about the people that are partnering with you for life, taking the journey of life with you. So whether this is family by blood, by marriage, by adoption, by simply gathering a group of people and deciding that you are going to do life together, this is very important. We are not designed to live our lives in solitude. And so being able to create a family is very important for your sense of belonging. And then the third form of community that I would encourage us all to explore is that of lifelong friends. And these are the kinds of people who will journey through life with you, even if they're not there with the day-to-day for you, like maybe your household members, aka family, or they aren't a part of, say, your religious group or your spiritual fellowship or your practice group or whatever that you gather with on a regular, say, a weekly or bi-weekly basis. But these are the people who, when you need to make major decisions, when you are experiencing challenges, when you have big things to celebrate, and when you just want to be yourself, flawed and wounded or amazing, and to celebrate that about you, these are the people that you need in your life. So whether it is you're gonna dig up your phone book or check in your email address and reach out to that old friend that you haven't connected with in a while, or you are going to be more intentional about the connections that you're building in your new local community, try to think for the long term. Who are the people who share these values with me that I feel can take this journey with me for the long haul, and make the investment. Pour yourself into someone else and be able to receive them pouring into you. We need each other because we can never thrive without each other. So that's my encouragement to you today. Find a way to connect in community so you can build your spiritual resilience and thrive wherever you are planted. Thanks so much for listening, love. If you enjoyed this episode, head over to didanashanta.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's message. Be sure to drop your email address so I can send you some helpful resources, updates, and the occasional music video that I may have on repeat. Make sure you subscribe and spread the love with someone you care about.